Welcome back, everybody. I know I said I wouldn't be in this room again when I made the intro, but I tried to make one there and it was just really low energy. So here I'm making another one for you guys. Welcome back to episode 2. We are going to play in Eugene again. So just the 1-3 game once again. Just going to be grinding up, trying to make some money. And I think I did much better this time with the graphics. I listened to a couple of you guys' comments about making the sizes a little bit bigger on the graphics. So please continue to give me feedback. I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys enjoy. First significant hand of the day, we're going to look down at Queen Jack off in the low jack. Going to bump it up to $12. We're going to get a call directly to our left. He is very splashy, and the small blind also pretty splashy. He's going to put in the call. We go off to the flop, seeing Queen 6-7 with a couple of hearts. I'm just going to be checking back here, so when the small blind checks, I just check as well, and it's going to check through. Off to the turn here, we see the 3 of clubs, and now the small blind is going to lead out for $25. I do think he's going to do a lot of leading here with a 7 or a 6, as well as worse queens. So we do put in the call, and the hijack is going to put in the call as well. We don't really like to see that, but we go off to a river of the 10 of diamonds, and now the small blind is going to lead out again for $60. And I think just this big sizing, this huge sizing twice in a row, with it being on the turn and now on the river, I think it's just better Queen X. And I don't think we beat very much. Lots of 2 pairs and stuff as well, continuing from the small blind. So we go ahead and fold and take a loss at the very beginning of the session. In this next one here, we are down to 6-handed, just a couple people walking away. But we do look down at ace 10 off under the gun. I go ahead and open it up to $12. I get a call directly to my left, that splashy player from the previous hand, and the hijack calls as well. We go off to the flop of Jack 10-10. Don't think we could see a better flop. On this board, we're just going to be checking our entire range here. So I check it over, and it's actually going to check through. Now we go off to the turn, which comes the 4 of hearts. And now here I think I can start betting. The player to my left is very short, so I bet $15. And I actually get a call from both positions. I think there's a lot of hands that are just going to be floating here. Flush draws, straight draws, bunch of stuff like that. I think I might have even been able to size up here, but I do get 2 calls, and we go off to the river, which is going to come the ace of hearts. So we fully bowed up on the flush completing board. And now I think for a little while, and I come to a decision to bet on the bigger side. I end up betting $70 into this pot here. And I get a really quick call from the player to my left. I didn't realize how short he was, but he actually ends up calling for less, and the other player is going to get out of the way. I wasn't too sure if he folded yet, just because the dealer's arm was in the way, but I call, flip over my hand, and obviously we are good. So we take down a big one after losing a small one at the beginning. We were in quite a few big pots tonight, so this is going to be the first of many. We look down at ace king off under the gun +1. The under the gun player limps, and we make it $15. It's going to fold back around to the player in middle position. He calls, and then the big blind's going to put in the call as well. We go off to the flop, and it comes a beautiful ace king 9 with 2 clubs. We flop top 2. And when checked me, I know that the middle position player is the guy directly to my left, the one we've been battling with. So far, he is pretty passive, so we decide to c-bet for $17 myself. I just don't think that he's going to be putting in a bet personally, and I want to try to get some money in with my great hand. And we get a call from both players. We're going to go off to the turn, which comes the queen of spades. Pretty much a brick when it comes to the hand. You know, the obvious straight draw did complete with the jack 10, but it is a gut shot, and the club draw did not come in, so I think I'm still just way ahead of the majority of the hands I'm against. So when the big blind checks again, I go ahead and bet 75, and I made a slight miscalculation with my bet here. I did not realize that both of my opponents only had about 160 left behind. So when it goes to the middle position player, he puts in the call, and I realize he has a very small chip stack behind, and the big blind is actually going to just go all in for the remainder of his stack. And now back to me. I am in the tank for quite a while here. Just kind of thinking over the whole hand. I don't really know how much I'm ahead of, but I also don't really know what hands I'm behind, because any types of sets or other 2-pair combos would have raised, and I have the best 2-pair. So I just am very confused. I think pocket nines are really the only hand, but I also do think that ace queen would also put in the all in here, turning top and middle pair. So I elect to put in the rest of the money and just kind of sigh. I don't really think I can fold for 90 more into this pot of almost $300. So I put in the call. The middle position player puts in the call as well. And we go to the river. It's going to come out the queen of clubs, which is just absolutely terrible. Now I beat nothing. And the player in the big blind is going to show pocket nines. So he just decided not to raise with his pocket nines. The middle position player has clubs as well. So we just get third best, and we were second best on the flop. So just a terrible hand overall. Big pot to lose. Back to back big hands here. I did add on $100 after that previous hand. I was down to about 160, but I'm gonna have to catch you guys up to speed in this hand. I did not start the recording until it was my turn on the flop. So we pick up King 8 of hearts on the button here. It is going to limp around to me. 3 players limp previously. I limp as well. The small blind calls and the big blind checks their option. The flop is going to come out ace of hearts, deuce of hearts, 10 of spades. So great flop to see. I flop the nut flush draw on a pretty dry board. It's going to check around to the hijack, who's going to bet $10, and then the cutoff is going to almost immediately raise up to 25. Now, with the nut flush draw here, I just put in the call, trying to get some extra equity in there as well from other players, so that way if I do turn the nuts, obviously I get paid. The under the gun player, who is actually the super splashy player from the previous video, is going to put in the call, and then the hijack is going to call as well. We go off to the turn, which is the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful 10 of hearts. So we turn the nuts. It is a paired board, but we turn the nut flush. Now, the under the gun player is going to lead out for 40. The hijack player is going to call. Cutoff is going to get out of the way. Now, on to me. I'm sitting with a stack of about 225. And I just don't think there's very many options of mine except for putting all the money in. I obviously get all the calls from worse flushes. I get all the calls from a 10. Could even get an ace-x call from the under the gun donker just because he is so splashy. So I put in the money. The under the gun player practically snap calls my all in, and it goes off to the hijack player who tanks for a very long time. He is a reg, very strong player. I respect his play. He thinks for a little while, gets a full count of my chip stack, and eventually puts in the call. River comes out the king of spades, and we are actually good. The hijack player is going to show queen 9 of hearts, so we coolered him. And the under the gun player is actually going to have jack 10, so he had a real hand, just obviously not as good as the nut flush. So we take down a massive hand of almost $700. And now, basically, right after I'm done racking up the chips from the previous hand, we look down at pocket queens in middle position. We go ahead and raise it up to $12, and we get a call from the button and the small blind, the 2 splashiest players at the table. Perfect situation to be in. The flop is going to come out 3-3-5 rainbow, and the small blind is actually going to donk out for $30. Now, in the spot, I think queens are just way too strong. He could be doing this with anything below queens, any pocket pairs below queens. Could also be doing this with a 5. I really just put him on like 8s to jacks. So we put in the call, and the button is going to call as well. Now after the turn, which is going to become the 5 of hearts, bringing the double pair in. And now he's going to slow down and check. Now I check behind just because I do believe that the button could definitely have some 5s in his range, and if he does, he's going to barrel. So I check, and he actually checks behind, which in my mind removes all of the 5s he could possibly have. The river is going to come out the 3 of clubs, so now there's a full house on the board, and the small blind is going to lead again for $45. Now, in this spot, I do think I made a slight mistake with the range I put him on previously. I think I'm just always ahead here. So just to maximize value, I should be raising in this spot, maybe just keeping it small around 105, but I do just put in a call instead. The button then folds, and the small blind is going to show pocket force. So he flopped a middling pair, turn counterfeited him, river. He was just going for a bluff and does not get it through. So we take down another big pot, and it's nice to see the chips coming our way. So apparently me not starting the recording at the beginning of hands was the theme of this session. So I'm going to have to catch you guys up again. In this hand, we are 4-handed now. So the table has basically broken, and we look down at queen 9 offsuit. This is actually going to be the moron moment of the episode. But 4-handed on the button, we open it up to $12. The small blind is going to put in the call. We go off to the flop of 6-3 deuce with 2 diamonds, and now when he checks it over to me, I just continue for a small size of $15, trying to just get all of his hands that called me pre-flop to continue. All of the ace X and other hands that are just going to be floating one street, any pair of twos, any pair of threes. He puts in the call, and we go off to the turn, which is the 2 of clubs. And now when he checks it over to me, I bet $25, and I think this is just the first mistake of the hand. Honestly, this bet size is not going to make him fold any of the hands that he floated with on the flop. So he puts in the call for 25, and we go to the river, which just brings in the 3 of clubs. And now when he checks to me a third time, I decide to bet again, and this is just the biggest mistake I would say of this hand. Um, there are just literally no hands that got here to the river that are folding at all. I chose a smaller size to try to make like diamonds fold and something like that, but the clubs got there. Any two is a boat, any three is a boat, so I'm just not getting enough folds here. I make it 65 on the river. He just snap calls me with a dollar chip and flips over ace deuce of hearts. So we lose this one, and it was just a terrible play by me. I don't think I could have played this hand worse. Weirdly enough, the next significant hand is going to be a limped pot again. So we're in the small blind here. There's going to be 5 limpers before me. I limp. So we're in the small blind here with 7-3 of spades. Now there is 5 limpers before it gets to me, so I limp as well, and the big blind checks his option. And we go off to the flop of 7-3-10 rainbow. God damn, we're running hot. I check in flow. It checks all the way around to the low jack, who bets out $20, which is a pretty big bet into a lot of players. The hijack puts in a call, and then it folds around to me. And now in this spot, I think I could have raised much bigger than I did. I go with a raise to $80, which is just definitely being called with all of his 10x, straight draws, anything like that. If I did size up to about 100, it would have left him with a little bit less. You'll see why that matters in just a second. The low jack puts in the call, and the hijack then gets out of the way. We go off to the turn, which is the 5 of spades. And now on this board, my opponent is about 175-ish. You can see his stack in the top right. So I just go ahead and put all the money in. Now, if I did size up on the flop with my raise, I think that this would just be a much easier call for him. You can see he's deep in the tank, and sadly, he does not put in the rest of his money. He does decide to fold here, but just a slight betting issue on my end. Again, I believe if I did size up on the flop, I would have easily got it all in on the turn. But we do end up taking this pot down anyway and go on to the next one. Another limped pot here. This time we are on the button with king 4 of diamonds. It's going to be 7 ways to the flop here, and it's going to come out king deuce 8 with a couple of hearts, and it checks around to the under the gun 1 player. Is going to bet $10, which is the super splashy player that we've been battling against. Now, when it gets folded to me, I put in the call. I think a king is great here. He could just be betting with literally any hand that he limped with, just because he is so aggressive and splashy. So I put in the call, and the under the gun player puts in the call as well. We go off to the turn, which is the 2 of diamonds. So now we get our flush draw to go along with our top pair. And the under the gun 1 player is going to continue barreling for $25. I think this is just a standard continue. If he has some sort of king X, we have the equity against it. And if he has worse, then we allow him to continue bluffing. So he put in the call, and the under the gun is going to get out of the way. Now to the river, which is the 9 of clubs. And now he actually decides to slow down and check. Now, when he checks, I'm just assuming it's missed hearts or some sort of ace X hand that he is giving up. So when he checks to me, I think this is a pretty simple thin value bet. Try to get calls from any pocket pairs that could be double barreling and then folding, or any like ace queen, ace jack that just doesn't believe me. He is very sticky. So I go in for a $35 bet on the river, and he snap check raises me all in to 208. Now, I am in the tank again with my king. I don't really think I beat anything here. The check raise just looks so strong. So we do find a fold here. I do like my bet. I do like my fold. And he does jokingly show me a king as well, which does help my mind a little bit, putting me in the idea that I definitely made the right fold here. But I do think my bet is good once again. And now after that hand, actually, I was told that I was on the move to the main game, so now there will be no more adjustments. We get to stay on the main game for the rest of tonight, so you can see me packing up my stuff, my chip stack there. We are about 500-ish when we move to the main game, and there's actually going to be one more limped pot we're talking about before there is some aggressive action pre-flop. I promise you there are more aggressive hands later on. And as we sit down, we get a nice warm welcome from our buddy Eric, and we are ready to go.
Yeah. How's it going?
Hello, how's it going? Good. So this last limp pot, I mostly just wanted to show that I am fighting for pots when people show that they don't really want the money in there. They just show a bunch of weakness, show that they don't have a hand. So we get king 4 offsuit here in the straddle. I go ahead and check my option. We go off to the flop of deuce 3 jack with 2 clubs. It is going to check through, go off to the turn of the ace of clubs. And now, once again, it is going to check fully around. So when we go off to the river, which is the 9 of diamonds, the player to my right checks and immediately holds his cards, as you can see. And I just think nobody has anything here. Nobody's going to call me. They don't have an ace. They don't have anything to really call at all. So I make a $12 bet, quickly folds through, and we take down a small pot, trying to increase my win rate as much as I can. Taking a quick break away from the table. Me and my dad are about to go to Carl's Jr., just get something to eat, and then coming back and grinding some more, up about 200 or so. Actually, I think it's less than that. I think it's like 550-ish, but definitely up so far. Yeah, gonna go eat. I am starving, have not eaten since 12, so definitely need to get some food, and then I'll be back. All right, forgot to record this one, so you guys are just gonna have to trust me, but first significant hand after getting food, I look down at the ace of spades and the jack of clubs on the button. They're 2 limps from earlier position, so I bump it up to $18. Now, the small blind player to my left is a reg, actually one of the dealers in the room. He's going to 3-bet me to $60. It's going to fold back around, and I put in the call. We go off to the flop, and it is jack of spades, 10 of spades, 2 of hearts. So we flop the backdoor nut flush draw and top pair, so we outflop any ace queen, any ace king, stuff like that. He goes ahead and c-bets for 65. I think this is just a pure c-bet from him. So I put in the call. We go off to the turn, which is the 5 of spades. So we actually sort of get there for our flush draw. We now have the draw. And now he checks. So I don't think he's going to be checking with much hands that are better than us. So I do go ahead and put in the bet for $80. And he puts in the call rather quickly. We go off to the river, and it comes the 3 of diamonds. And now he thinks for a little while and checks to me again. Now, I think this was a slight mistake. I did end up checking back. But if I could do it over again, I would definitely go for a bet here. I don't think I'm getting much calls, but I could get like a hero from something worse than me. In my head, I just really put him on queens for some reason. So I put him on queens, but I go ahead and check back, and he shows pocket nines. So we take down a pretty big pot versus one of the best players at the table. Now, we do run cold for pretty much the rest of the night. Queen 10 suited is going to be the best hand we look at, so we do look down at it under the gun. I open it up to $12, and it folds around to the big blind, who puts in the call. We go up to the flop of 10, 7, 6 rainbow, so we do flop pretty good, and the big blind's actually going to lead out for $20 here. I think this is just a lot of weak hands. Not very many strong hands would lead. They want me to bet so they can raise, so I put in the call. And the turn comes out the beautiful queen of spades, so we turn 2 pair on a completely rainbow board, and he's going to bet again for 35. Now, I could have definitely raised here, but I was just really nervous about a straight for some reason, so I put in the call. We go to the river of the 9 of hearts, and he is going to same bet for $35. Now, the straight completed, so I just sigh and put in another call, let him know that his straight is good. But he actually doesn't have a straight, so we turn over our 2 pair and we win. And he actually is going to show us queen 7. So if we put in that raise, we definitely would have got so much money. I think I am being a little results oriented that I didn't raise when he had such a strong hand that we beat. But we take this one down and move on to the next one. So this hand here is actually going to be my favorite hand that I played tonight. I think I played this hand amazing. We look down at 6-4 of hearts in the small blind. We're down to 6-handed again. And the under the gun 1 player, who is a very profitable reg, opens up to $10. I put in the call, trying to get the super splashy recreational player that's going to make a lot of mistakes to call as well in the big blind. But he folds. So we go to the flop of king 8-7 with 2 diamonds and a heart. So we do have a gut shot and a backdoor flush draw. The under the gun 1 player is going to c-bet for $8. $8. And I think if I'm going to float with any hands that aren't made, it's probably something like this. So I go ahead and put in the bet for $8, and the turn comes out the 4 of diamonds. So we actually turn a pair, but it's obviously not going to be good with just a pair of 4s. So we check it over to him again, and he actually thinks for a little while and checks back. So I think this is just done with a lot of King X. So when he checks back, we go off to the river of the 9 of diamonds. And now with 4 diamonds out there, I think any of his hands that were semi-bluffs on the flop that then turned extra equity with a diamond would have continued. So I think he doesn't have any diamonds anymore in his range. I think it's just purely King X. So I decide to actually lead out for $30, just thinking that I'm going to get a range fold from all King X. And actually, I do get it through. So he folds rather quickly, and we just move on and we take down this pot. I think it's just a good hand just to show how much I've improved. I don't think I would ever find that move a year ago. Now, in this one here, we're going to look at the questionable 10-7 off, but it may or may not be another limp pot. We are in the big one. We're going to limp, and it's going to go 3 ways to the flop of 7-6-3 rainbow. So we do flop pretty great, and it's actually going to check through on this flop. The queen of clubs is going to come out on the turn, and then it's going to check to the under the gun limper, who is going to bet 15. I think this is done with a lot of queen X, but could also just be some random 2 cards he's just monkey betting with. So we put in the call, and the river comes out the king of hearts. We're going to check it over to him again, and he bets 25. Now, with this bet here, I do think it is a pretty small bet that he's doing with a lot of queen X, and I just sense a lot of weakness here with this bet size. Obviously, it is a double barrel, but I do think it is very weak and very queen X, and he's trying to just set his own price and get a little bit of thin value. So after thinking it over, I actually go for a raise to $80, and sadly, he just very quickly puts the money in and we fold. But I do really like my line here. I think, honestly, I do get a lot of folds, and he might have just had king-queen this time, or maybe a set that he slow played, but I do really like my line. So this is going to be the last hand we play of tonight. It's down to 4-handed again. We get pocket 9s on the button. The under the gun player with a ridiculously short stack calls. I make it 15, and then he calls my raise as well. We go off to the flop of 9-6-7 with 2 hearts, and when he checks to me, I actually decide to check back this time. I just want to let him catch up with any of his 2 over cards that could improve on the turn, and the turn is going to come out the queen of diamonds, so exactly what we were looking for. When he checks to me again, I bet out small for $10. He has about 60 in his stack, so he quickly puts in the call. We go to the river of the 3 of hearts, and now when he checks one more time, I'm not too worried about the flush, so I kind of just put the rest of the money in. And there was a little bit of table talk after this because they are open till 2, and it was about 1:30 at this point, so I'll let you guys listen to that. I'll see one more because it's free, and I don't want to be the one that breaks the table, but after this hand, sadly, I will be breaking the table. Okay, cool. I'm glad I'm not the only one. So we did see that last hand. It was just a quick fold, nothing exciting, and racked up our chips, headed over to the front desk, and yeah, cashed out for $11.45 in total, so a nice profit of $2.45 on the day, and just awesome to see. We were in for 900 because they do allow you to buy back, as you can see the chips being counted out there. But yeah, nice to see a good profit as always. All right, it's gonna wrap it up for today. Cash plus 245, so I mean it's always good to be up. Definitely could have been up more. I mean, you know, like 750 is the peak, but you know, 245 can't go bad with that. 8-hour day or 7-hour day, so great hourly. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next video.